Hey everyone, Zach Mason here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to try to do a brief video on Dana Coverstone and You Be Ready and whether or not they are still reliable, whether they were hearing from God through their dreams or prophetic words. I'm going to say from the start, I do believe they were, etc. We're going to talk about the evidence. Before I get to that, I do want to say that there's a lot of attention and promotion of an online YouTuber named Brandon Briggs for prophecies he has made. I'm just going to say I'm going to do a fuller video on this later. I'm going to tell you I'm very wary of him, skeptical, and I advise you to listen. If you're listening to him, I wouldn't listen to him, frankly, but if you do, take what he says with a grain of salt. And I'm going to explain better in a separate video just on him soon because he's getting enough attention I think I need to. Now, why am I doing this? Because a lot of it, we all, and I had many videos on my channel where I was speculating how I thought things were going to play out politically. It is very quiet compared to what we were expecting. Yes, my expectation was Kamala wasn't going to be turning the White House over to him this easily based on all the past history and then pulling things out of these words and dreams and visions. It seemed that the best interpretation was that once he won the election, she wasn't going to turn it over easily. I will note, though, that based on these same dreams and visions and prophetic words that people are now questioning, I was able to accurately say that as far back as 2021, that Donald Trump absolutely would be the candidate in 2024, and that I believed he would win based on everything that I had seen. But I've gotten messages like this from a guy named John H. I won't give his last name. He says, you promote false messengers / prophets. Dana Coverstone and You Be Ready / Byron Searle are both false prophets. Their prophetic dreams did not come true. They both dated some of their prophetic dreams. Anyone can be deceived by lying spirits. They are not testing the spirits. So please quit promoting them as being messengers from God. They are not. You too will answer for every word you have said, so you need to repent before it's too late. All right, so to John, I will say, and to all of you, I have tested the spirits very thoroughly, and this is why I'm still convinced that they are hearing from God, and there's errors in John's reasoning that I'm going to point out in this video, and this is probably some of you are probably making the same errors. That said, John, I will caution you that you too will answer for every word you have said. And to say someone is a false prophet is a very strong condemnation. You have to be very sure, and you definitely don't have enough evidence for that fact. You're misinterpreting things, and I'm going to explain that and show it. So I urge you to repent of having called them that without evidence. Now, I have on this channel called a few people false prophets, but I've only done so after very thorough analysis and clearly documenting false prophecies, as well as spirits that are not of the Lord, motivations, hearts, theologies that are not of the Lord. Okay, Julie Green is an example of that. But specifically, what is going on here? Why is John having so many doubts? Well, because of dates associated with Coverstone's dreams and dates associated with You Be Ready's words. Okay, but let's walk through. I'm not going to be able to treat this subject thoroughly in this one video because I want this to be kind of brief. So I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to do some more in-depth commentary like I've done before on a couple of Coverstone's dreams, the October dream especially. As well as a few of You Be Ready's words that have come true as evidence, strong evidence that they are hearing from God. Now, with Coverstone, all right, first of all, John, you got something wrong. Dana Coverstone has gone out of his way to never call himself a prophet. He has only said, hey, I had a dream. And then he posts his dreams. And he had never had a spiritual agenda with it. He just said, look, this dream freaked me out. I think I got to post it. So even in the end, if it were determined these dreams weren't from God and they were false and they just had been figments of his imagination, it wouldn't make him a false prophet. He's just sharing dreams he had. If he had random nightmares that he confused as being from God, and he's just saying, hey, I had this dream, I think it's from God, that doesn't make him a false prophet. That means he's sharing with the body something that he thinks is important. He's not telling anyone to do anything from other than the statements he's hearing from the one he calls the man in white, who even then he's going out of his way to never call him Jesus. I believe it's Jesus speaking to him, but he never claims that because he doesn't want to give his dreams that level of authority. So you're in error right there by even just from the idea that you could ever call Dana Coverstone a false prophet from his dreams if they were false. Is just an error right there. Okay, he's just sharing dreams. You Be Ready is different. He is sharing prophetic words that he is saying are word for word messages he's received from Jesus or the Father. That one is different. That is to be a prophet. Okay. Nevertheless, let's talk about Coverstone's date. So Coverstone has a lot of dates. You Be Ready doesn't. You Be Ready only has one date, all right, and one prophetic word. And so right there, I think, John, you should realize once you start reading his words, studying the transcripts of his videos, you'll see there's only one really associated with a date that I can remember off the top of my head. I believe that's the only one from about 2023. What was going to happen then? I'm going to talk about it briefly and then do a more thorough video on it later. Nevertheless, the dates associated with Dana Coverstone. He had 2 calendar dreams that showed multiple months. And I've talked about these. I've already done a lot of videos on these. I'm just going to summarize. His first calendar dream that showed a calendar that he believed was about coming 2020 showed January through June, things happening there, and he saw images associated with that first dream. Everything in that first calendar dream he had came true. All of it. In detail, very hard to predict those things, and he's on record testifying that he shared this with elders and other men at his church before he ever posted on YouTube, before 2020 ever began. His elders have not come out and called him a liar. Okay, these men at his church haven't called him a liar. They're all still attending. They know he did. They know he did share this. Therefore, he talked about it ahead of time, and it started coming true. It was only after that first dream came true, and he had a second dream in June of 2020, that he decided to post it as well, and that's the one that first got him a lot of attention. Now, as I've said on this channel, we made assumptions about the second calendar dream, June through November with the fist punch, as being connected immediately to the first calendar dream because God likes to trick us about timing. And in fact, all of the things, let me back up one step. Go review my video called 4 Phases of Judgment Coming to America. And I believe in that video I go out of my way to explain what we can be sure of and what we're not so sure of. And this is what I've repeatedly said. I said there are 4 phases of judgment coming to the United States. The first phase is chaos. The second phase is civil war. The third phase is a loss of electricity caused by EMPs and maybe other things. And the fourth phase is an invasion by Russia and China and other nations. Those are the 4 phases of judgment coming to the United States. I have absolutely no doubt about those phases. Because millions and millions of Christians have had these dreams. Whenever I teach classes, people have had dreams about those same things. The order at this point I'm very sure of, and we are in the chaos phase. These phases are echoed in Leviticus 26. They are happening. Do you not see chaos? Look up what's happening in San Diego. Look up what's happening in New York City. We've got all of these soldiers, National Guard guys in the subways of New York. We've got Philadelphia. Look at the videos of the zombies on the streets. The fires now in Los Angeles, the hurricane that hit Asheville, the terrorists. Do you not see the chaos is growing? Crime is growing. We're beginning the chaos phase. There's no doubt about that. Just because, and then I've said that the timing is near impossible to get right. I have on this channel, in the interest of trying to help us navigate, I've tried to speculate on timing because people ask me about that. And I've done the best job I could, but I've always said it is really hard to get the timing right because God intentionally confuses us about timing. He intentionally communicates in a way that we make a certain assumption here, a certain assumption there we're not realizing we're making. And he does that so we get ready now. I've talked about this. I've taught it. So because the timing isn't matching what we expected, John, the timing just didn't match your expectations or what I had speculated on, doesn't mean that these things are wrong. We have to look clearly at what he has actually communicated. Also, the politics, the details of the politics between Biden, Kamala, Trump, I've also consistently said, if you go back and look at all my videos, that these things are the politics we have more information on, but not a lot. It's a very small data set, meaning a small number of dreams that talk to us about these details. And even then, it's only a piece we're getting here. So the speculations I was doing were, I think, very good educated guesses ahead of the time based on the information. It was my best attempt to put the pieces together in the right order and try to predict what I thought was going to be happening using the current news as a organizing filter. However, You Be Ready nor Coverstone ever said, he never saw anything that specifically said after the 2024 election, Kamala's not going to give the White House to Trump and there's going to be chaos immediately after the election. That's never been said by anybody. Okay, I've tried to be clear and precise. I know for those of you that aren't as familiar with the words, the prophetic words, as I am, you're just kind of going off what I'm reporting. I'm telling you I'm doing my best job to kind of make educated guesses, and I'm doing my best to tell you what is sure and what is speculation. Anything about politics and the details of Trump, Biden, Kamala, etc., that's going to be very just educated guesses. We don't have enough information. God isn't shared enough information on those details. There's certain things that we've been able to say pretty surely, like I did know Trump was going to be arrested. I knew he was going to be the candidate in 2024, and I was pretty confident he was going to win the election in 2024, and all those things did happen. Now, back to the Coverstone Dreams. I've said, I don't remember how long ago, I've been talking for years about how we believe the second calendar dream Coverstone had actually was for 2024 through 2027, or maybe even 2025 through 2028 or 29. And I gave reasons why that. So we have no expectation for the second calendar dream by Coverstone to be fulfilled yet. But everything from the first one has been fulfilled, and it took place over 2020 through 2023. Now, Dana Coverstone's September dream, I believe, was fulfilled in 2021, and I've talked about that. His October dream, I believe, has been fully fulfilled at this point. The dates highlighted in the October dream were fulfilled in October of 2024, and all of the images that he saw after that have been playing out at an accelerating rate over the next 4 years up to this election now. And I think that makes perfect sense with the November dream and how it begins. So October dream, fully fulfilled. If you're not aware of that, John, you should go review it and then think back to everything that's happened in the news, pastor scandals, inflation, even these drones, which are probably very possibly seeking radiation, is even connected to the fulfillment of that October dream. I'm going to come back to the November dream. The December-January dream, I've made a video. I've talked about this in videos. There was no expectation that would happen this year or any year earlier. I've said previously I thought the earliest that could happen was December, January 2025, 2026. Said it long before this election. And it may be even the year after that or so. Not sure. It didn't have a year associated with it. He just saw the month. He had a date associated with a Democrat candidate for president of the United States in the rotunda of the Capitol, and I think the date was December 17th or something like that. Again, that he didn't say what year, and I again believe that's for the future, this year, next year, or, who knows. We'll see it when it happens, but it didn't say a year. Then he had Passover 2021, which was referenced in his October dream. I've done an entire video on that. Look for it on my channel. It's not too far back from this video where I explain that. So that means that the only Dana Coverstone dated date associated with anything that could be in question, John, is the November dream. And I will point out that the November dream starts with mild protests, followed by the 2020, the finger circling in a way that showed us the 2020 election would be reversed. indicating Trump would eventually be given the White House, would win. That is happening. It was our expectation, and then massive protests break out at some point after that. And there's a headline that says, Trump victory challenged everywhere. Of course, we assumed that Trump victory was the election victory. But what if it's a court victory? What if it's a court victory about his ability to deport these invaders from the South? And because he wins that challenge and now can deport them, what if that's why they're protesting? What if it's like that and he actually has to be inaugurated first? I mean, the finger reversing could be not only just winning the election, but actually taking possession of the White House. It's hard to predict exact, and even this, I'm speculating on this interpretation. Our interpretation is an interpretation. Until it's fulfilled, it's hard to get it exactly right, because there's things we're not expecting. Afterwards, you can look back and say, oh yeah, no, that I see exactly how that was fulfilled. And then it makes perfect sense. And it still is impossible to have predicted ahead of time so accurately. It doesn't eliminate the power of the prophecy that you can't really know its fulfillment until after. All right. We're just because we're trying to navigate, we're trying to kind of look out and do our best to predict ahead of time. But ahead of time predictions is hard. Getting it exactly right as to what to expect. So from that perspective, the beginning of the November dream for Coverstone has fulfilled. And there's nothing requiring the later events to happen in that same month. If that was your expectation, that was your interpretation, John. You interpreted that everything he saw had to happen in that same month. And if you're a realistic thinker and you look back at the events that was shown him in that dream, there's no way those could happen in 30 days. There's just no way. It would take longer than that. So your expectations were what was wrong. So hopefully that answers the questions about Coverstone. I will also point out that he's had a few other dreams that maybe we've forgotten to include. I know I have. Review his bunker dream. The bunker dream is talking about a solution that this cabal has for ending the conservative vote. And I'm going to do a video on this bunker dream because I think it's important. But in the dream, these paramilitary guys go in and they shoot up the White House. And it seems that some are American soldiers, some are peacekeepers from the UN, which would indicate some level of chaos already. And there's a sign in the sky that Coverstone sees that says, business as usual is over for everyone. And it's red and white like a MAGA sign with gold barbed wire. Okay? And that's a detail that I'm actually realizing is a lot more important than we thought. I thought that dream was about a few, because the colors of the sign are MAGA, and if you go Google business as usual is over, Google that phrase with quotation marks and then with Trump, you'll see that phrase is being uttered by a ton of the people associated with Trump. It's like a mantra they have. But God is highlighting that, no, business is over as usual for everyone, including MAGA, including all of us. And that in that dream, it becomes clear that Trump has been removed from the White House. So he has to be in the White House to be removed from the White House. I had believed that this dream was about he had been kept out and then installed and then removed after that. But there may be two removals. Or maybe there's only one and the removal comes before he's installed. There's still a lot of questions. We just have pieces that we're trying to put together. Nevertheless, that bunker dream actually could be interpreted in a way that if we really incorporate it into the November dream, it might have been a strong clue from God that, hey, Trump is going to take office. These protests will come and the chaos will come after he takes office, which I think is kind of what we're all expecting now. But again, time will tell. Regardless, with Coverstone, there's nothing with a date that should have been fulfilled that hasn't been. Some of them we're still waiting on, but there's no reason why they had to have already happened in previous years. Okay, now with You Be Ready, again, I'm going to read you a couple things. First of all, he has many fulfilled words, and the only one that You Be Ready has that I'm aware of that is associated with a date is the one about starvation in the year 2023. I'm going to do a full video on that one because I know some people have looked at that because that was one that had a date, and they wanted to use that date to determine is You Be Ready true or false. And as I've explained to several people already, there's things in that prophetic word that were exactly for 2023, and then others that are for years, months and years after it. It describes a process. But the way God communicates, he just sentence to sentence, there can be huge time gaps. And you say, oh, that's just an excuse. Zach, that's an excuse. No, actually, it's the way he communicated to the Old Testament prophets as well. So if you're familiar with Jesus reading from Isaiah, in the synagogue in Nazareth, he reads a prophecy in Isaiah about himself, and he says this, and he sits down and says, this is fulfilled today in your hearing. He says, this is fulfilled today, 2,000 years ago, in your hearing. And that's it. Yet, if you go and look up the passage that he quotes from Isaiah, Jesus stopped reading mid-sentence. He read multiple sentences and then stopped reading mid-sentence, in the middle of a sentence. Why? Because the second half of that sentence wasn't going to be fulfilled until more than 2,000 years later in his second coming. So there can be huge time gaps in just one sentence to the next in prophetic words that Jesus gives. Okay. Nevertheless, so I will do a video on the 2023 You Be Ready word, so to put everybody's mind at ease about that, so you can understand the true interpretation of it, what you should have expected from it. But I'm going to go ahead and quote a couple of other words here that you should encourage you that, yes, he is hearing from the Lord, things that have been fulfilled. First, to my You Be Ready has never said the word Kamala, okay? I have interpreted when he hears words about the evil queen, the most evil queen, and it seems like that is about Kamala, but even that association is a strong educated guess. He also has never said a timing of a year, a month, or everything that would happen before she took power. In fact, I don't have any dreams or visions out there that tell us exactly the order of who's, when, which. That is all, as I've said, it's hard to get the details and the politics correct. There's just not enough data. Not like these other bigger themes that I've talked about. So he never said, You Be Ready has never said that she would not give Trump the White House. Never. That was my best educated guess, and I went out of my way to make it clear in my videos that I was making an educated guess, that we don't have clarity on exactly what was going to happen. Nevertheless, let's go back, and I'm going to read you a few that have come true. In the Red Wave prophecy from November 4th, 2022, and this is a great example of how we think it's false, and then we get proven wrong, okay? Because he received this word right before the 2022 election when everybody was talking about a red wave. And it says, where was it? In the red wave dated November 4th, 2022, it says, you will get your red wave. So that red wave didn't happen in 2022, so people called him a false prophet. But it was actually for 2 years later. There was no date given. We did get our red wave. We did get the red wave. And then he talks about how destruction and chaos will come out of the results of this red wave. Yet he doesn't say it's going to happen in immediately the months after it. He just says it's going to lead to it. So if your expectations, what you imagine in your interpretations is where it's actually false. Your imagination is false, not the actual word, which was much more limited than what you imagined. Okay, I'm going to point out a couple of others. If you With regards to, he predicted Hurricane Helene and the other one that hit Tampa. Final warning, go review this one. I'm just going to read a few lines in the interest of time. May 3rd, 2024. He talks about a summer of chaos coming. That happened. I've talked about that. With all the political chaos and other things. Senseless chaos will engulf major cities. That is happening. It's happening. It's growing, and it's happening. He talks about storms racing across the nation and in the spring. And in fact, we got massive tornadoes last year, and it was not record, but very close to record setting for the past decades. And they were moving fast, if you don't remember that. A few more things. I'm going to do a fuller video on this. But even to the point where there's a line at the end of this where second to last line, he says, huge hurricanes this year. Now that's a clear one with a time date. Huge hurricanes this year. No way to really misinterpret that. Flooding unheard of. Many people perish. I remember this last year, September of this last year, early September, I was actually praying and saying, Lord, I don't see the hurricanes yet. You said there would be hurricanes this year. Where are they? Well, they came, right? They came. Flooding unheard of. Yep. Have you ever heard of flooding in Asheville at the level we had it? Nobody has. Many people perished. Did many people perish? Yes. I think the estimates are close to 1,000 is what I think. I don't think they're ever going to give us an accurate number because it's too big an embarrassment for the government. Nevertheless, did that happen? Yes. Could you have done that? Could you have tried to be a false prophet and predict that? Could you have said in any given year, huge hurricanes this year, flooding unheard of, many people perish, and get it right? What year could somebody come up with something so specific and get it right? Well, he did, because he's hearing from the Lord. Again, I'll do fuller videos on these later. Last one I want to quote here before we wrap it up. In a word he posted September 17th, 2022, called My Fire. And he's talking about, I'll just read from it. It says, my son, the day of fire is close at hand. This is 2.5 years ago. My son, the day of fire is close at hand for this nation called America. This judgment of fire will be for the cleansing of the land that has had so much blood spilled on it. This fire will come in many forms. There will be fire caused by lightning that will scorch the forests of this nation. Forest fires have been pretty bad for the past few years since his word. And God could have just as easily turned off the lightning and the forest fires. There will be fire caused by chemical plants and refineries burning that will pollute land and water. We've had a few of those. I think this is indicating we're going to have more. But he predicted it. There will be fire caused by exploding oil and gas wells, setting the plains ablaze. This has happened as well. North Dakota has had some issues with this. And I believe it's going to increase as well. But it's happened. Again, he predicted it. There will be fires started by space weapons that will pinpoint areas and cause electrical fires in cities and towns. He predicted exactly what happened in Hawaii and what is probably happening in LA. Though the evidence there is spotty. I mean, there's not quite as obvious as what happened in Hawaii. I think all of us kind of suspect it. Nevertheless, maybe we'll talk more about that in a future video. But my point is, he predicted the space weapon starting fires 2.5 years ago. So, bottom line is, John and everyone else, the issue is not, first of all, don't call Coverstone a prophet. He's a dreamer. He's just reporting dreams. Second of all, when you read a prophetic word or listen to someone reporting a dream, you must be very careful to not imagine more than is what actually said. I try my best to limit myself to exactly what is said and not go beyond it. But that is even hard for me, trying to be as careful as I am. Okay, nevertheless, someone is only false, like if huge hurricanes had not happened in the fall of last year, then that would have been a false prophecy. Because that one sentence is very clear. But it did happen. So it's a true prophecy. The other things that you think are false prophecies are actually just your false expectations. So let's work hard to fix our expectations. And if I'm trying to help you by making some educated guesses, you have to understand, when I say that, I mean it. I'm doing my best to guess, okay, based on the data I have. And so far, with the exception of what's happened right after 2024 election, I've been hitting a lot of these headlines spot on. This is the first time I've actually been surprised by something not going as I expected. Everything else I've predicted accurately, which is a lot of things, has been based on all of these dreams and visions, including Coverstone and including You Be Ready. So anyways, that said, that's enough for this video. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon.